I caught my fiancé cheating, now I'm not sure how to move on. I, F29, caught my fiancé, M33, cheating on me several times over the course of our 4.5-year relationship. I have been willing to work on our relationship and move forward in the past, but more recently, I've been feeling less inclined to continue. For some background, my fiancé has alcohol and substance abuse issues. He also suffered a traumatic brain injury shortly before we started dating. In February of this year, he decided to go to rehab, but only stayed for 2 weeks and left because of a disagreement he had with the staff. He stayed sober for 3 months until relapsing in June. Last year, he lost his job for drinking while working, and has not worked since. He speaks to a therapist and takes medication for seizures, anxiety, and depression, but he has admitted to me that he does not tell his therapist about his issues with infidelity or the extent of his alcoholism. When I first found out about his infidelity, it had been exclusively from him using messaging apps like Kik, hookup apps, and sexting on social media messengers like Facebook and Instagram. I was devastated. This started around March of 2020, which was also around the time I had started living with him. I remember the night it happened. I was sitting next to him in bed and glanced toward him and noticed a photo he had opened on his phone that was clearly a nude photo of someone. After that he came clean about the sexting, told me it was meaningless, and said he did it because it was exciting and fulfilled fantasies he had. At the time I was hurt and confused and felt like I wasn't doing enough to satisfy him, so I tried every single thing he wanted to do. I also felt like because it was never physical, it was forgivable. For a while it seemed like things were getting better, until January of 2021. My grandmother passed away and I left town for her funeral. My fiancé was supposed to come with me, but said he felt uncomfortable going. I ended up out of town for a week because of a bad snowstorm. When I finally made it home, I walked into a dark room in the middle of the day with my fiancé passed out in bed. His phone screen was lighting up. I looked at it and it was dozens of messages from people on hookup apps. This time hurt differently, because on top of my own personal grief I was also feeling betrayed by his infidelity again, and felt very alone. At this point it was starting to feel personal, and I was making plans to leave him. Again, he said it happened because it was exciting but meaningless and that I had been gone for a week and he was lonely. For whatever reason, I decided to stay and work on things again. Most recently, since his relapse, his behavior has escalated. One night, I woke up early in the morning and found him trying to get dressed to leave to meet another woman and take her out of the state on a trip he had previously planned with his friends. He was drunk and trying to start a car that had a keyless ignition with keys to a different car. The next day he apologized. A few weeks later he was sexting the same person under a fake name, which I saw when he received a sexually explicit text that went to his home screen that had details that could only be traced back to them. This person has a partner, and I thought seriously about sending them the messages between her and my fiancé, but decided no to. I figured if she acts so reckless, she'll expose herself eventually. After this, I felt like I could move on again, since he cut off contact with that woman. But, unfortunately, he began rekindling a relationship with another woman. This new woman was someone he had been with casually years before we began dating. She is currently married and has a young child. He ended up taking my car to meet this woman around 4 a.m. and they had sex in my car. He denied doing it at first. I saw her messages to him about how her knees were bruised and how she wanted to see him again soon, and he came clean about his infidelity once again. Again, I wanted to tell this woman's husband about her infidelity with my fiancé, but my fiancé begged me not to tell anyone and I eventually let it go. Last night, he told me he listened to a podcast where the guest shared their experience with one of the medications he currently takes. Apparently, this person experienced mania and made out-of-character decisions while taking this particular medication. Now he is telling me that he believes his medication is to blame for his infidelity. I have invested a lot into this relationship. I dropped out of graduate school to work full-time since he has been unemployed. I make sure he eats every day. I made sure we bought a new mattress when our old one had holes in it. I make sure he gets his meds. I pretty much get him anything he needs. At the end of the day, I feel like I'm just taking care of someone who is ungrateful and takes advantage of my kindness. I'm afraid of being alone, but I also don't want to be lonely. I thought I would spend the rest of my life with my fiancé, but I don't think he has ever cared for me the same way I care for him. Now let's look at the comments. He has cheated on you multiple times, betrayed you when you were hurting, and has had sex in your car with another woman. I understand the need to help those who are struggling, and the love you feel for him. But this is coming at the cost of your own sanity and future. My father gave me this advice as I was growing up. Dating is practice for marriage. If this is how he acts when you guys are engaged, do you think he will suddenly stop once you are married? Once you have kids? I understand that being lonely can be scary and hard, but getting away from someone who hurts you emotionally, is trying to drunkenly drive, and has no regard for your well-being is the best move. You need to leave him, as he has failed to improve upon himself in any meaningful way. Yes, being lonely is scary. I put so much into this relationship that I feel like I lost myself in trying to fulfill all of his needs. I know he is selfish, cruel, and a liar. I know he is mentally and physically unwell. There is still a part of me that wants to throw my life away to be with him, despite all of that, and that's my biggest problem. My best friend told me something very recently, and I think it applies to your situation too. I even wrote it down so I didn't forget. I am sad and frustrated, but that is okay. He is not my problem. It's a very simple phrase, so it's often forgotten. I used to be worried about how my ex would fare without me, and I would feel guilty for leaving him. But he took up too much space in my mind for me to focus on what was really important, me. I have neglected myself for a long time, because I had been focusing so hard on him and fixing our relationship. He didn't do shit though. No accountability for his actions, blamed me for his choices, etc., so it was doomed anyway. I'm alone now, and lonely. But it's a lot better than giving my all to someone who doesn't respect or appreciate me. So repeat after me, I deserve better. You've already lost yourself and given up so much. Why throw good money after bad? Cut your losses now, you are never going to get any of that back. You need to pack your shit and leave. I got through the first paragraph. Stop enabling and start living.